Have you ever wondered what it would take for a hard-nosed journalist
Oh,
to wholeheartedly defend Santa Claus?
that's an interesting question. And today's deep dive explores a real-life example of just that.
Okay.
A story where cynicism clashes with childlike faith, and the outcome is, well, surprising, to say the least.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's 1897.
Yeah.
Christmas is just around the corner.
Okay.
And 8-year-old Virginia O'Hanlon has a burning question.
She wants to know once and for all if Santa Claus is real,
Yeah.
and not just kind of real. She needs irrefutable proof.
So what does she do? She takes matters into her own hands and writes a letter.
Wow.
But not just to anyone. She writes to the Sun, a New York newspaper known for its factual reporting. I mean, talk about going straight to the source.
And to add another layer to this, her father had instilled in her this belief that if you see it in the sun, it's so. Can you imagine the weight of expectation on the shoulders of whoever had to answer that letter?
It's like putting the entire concept of Christmas on trial. So this letter, penned in a child's careful cursive, lands on the desk of Francis Farcilla's church,
Right.
a seasoned journalist with a reputation for being, well, a bit of a Scrooge.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Church was a Civil War correspondent, a founder of prominent journals, and a member of prestigious societies. But he was also known for his cynicism, especially towards religion. Some might even call him a staunch atheist.
So we have this innocent question, fueled by a child's unwavering belief,
Right.
facing off against a man who'd likely scoff at the mere mention of reindeer and flying sleighs.
Yeah.
It's almost Shakespearean, wouldn't you say?
It definitely has that clash of ideologies that makes for a compelling story. And what makes it even more intriguing is that despite his skepticism, Church had a side to him that was described as having gentlemanly pugnacity mixed with a warmth of sympathies, according to a friend.
Okay, that's a fascinating combination.
Yeah.
So how does this hardened cynic approach a question that's so deeply rooted in faith and imagination?
Well, he could have dismissed it, right, tossed it aside as a silly inquiry not worthy of his time. But instead, he chooses to respond,
Okay.
and his response is not what you'd expect.
All right, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Okay.
Give us a glimpse into this legendary editorial. What did Church actually say?
He starts by acknowledging Virginia's letter and praising her for her courage in seeking the truth, and then he dives right in with this powerful line. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist.
Wow, he doesn't beat around the bush, does he?
No.
He's framing Santa Claus not as a jolly figure in a red suit,
Mhm.
but as a representation of these core human values.
Exactly. And he goes on to say, alas, how dreary would be the world if there were no Santa Claus. He's linking the existence of Santa Claus to the very things that make life beautiful and joyful.
It's almost like he's saying that believing in Santa Claus is synonymous with believing in the good in humanity.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
He then takes it a step further, comparing disbelief in Santa Claus to disbelief in fairies. He's essentially urging Virginia, and by extension, all of us, to hold on to that sense of childlike wonder.
He's arguing that if we close ourselves off to the possibility of magic and the unseen, we're essentially robbing ourselves of the joy and beauty that they bring. It's quite a philosophical stance for a self-proclaimed atheist, you'd say.
Absolutely. And this editorial, penned in a single afternoon, went on to have a ripple effect far beyond what Church could have ever imagined.
So what happened? Did people embrace his message, or did they scoff at a cynical journalist suddenly waxing poetic about Santa Claus?
The response was immediate and overwhelming. The Sun began reprinting the editorial every year, and it quickly spread to other newspapers across the country. It became one of the most reprinted editorials in American history.
Wow.
Translated into over 20 languages.
Really?
And adapted for TV and even children's books. Talk about striking a chord.
It's incredible how a man who was so grounded in facts and skepticism could write something that resonated so deeply with people's emotions and beliefs.
I think that's the point, isn't it? Church wasn't trying to convince anyone of Santa's literal existence.
Right.
He was using Santa Claus as a symbol, a way to talk about something much bigger.
So what was he really talking about then? If it wasn't about a jolly old elf who delivers presents, what was the deeper message?
I think he was making a case for the importance of faith, not necessarily in a religious sense,
Yeah.
but faith in the good in humanity.
Right.
Faith in the possibility of joy and wonder, even in a world that can often feel dark and cynical.
He was essentially saying that choosing to believe, to hold on to that childlike sense of wonder, can actually make the world a better place.
Exactly. And it's interesting to think about this in the context of his own life. Here's a man who witnessed the horrors of the Civil War firsthand, a man who probably saw the worst of what humanity is capable of.
And yet he still found a way to believe in something bigger than himself,
Yeah.
something that represented hope and joy.
Mm.
It makes his message even more powerful, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's like he's saying, if I, a man who has seen the abyss, can still find a reason to believe in the magic of the human spirit, then so can you.
It's a powerful reminder that cynicism and negativity are easy. But choosing to believe, to hold on to that spark of hope, takes courage and intentionality.
And it's a message that's just as relevant today as it was back then. We're bombarded with bad news, negativity, and reasons to be skeptical.
Right.
It's easy to lose sight of the good things, the things that make life worth living.
So how do we hold on to that Santa Claus spirit in the face of all that?
Yeah.
What practical steps can we take to cultivate that sense of wonder and belief in our own lives?
Well, I think it starts with being more mindful of where we focus our attention.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the negativity, to dwell on the things that are wrong with the world. But what if we made a conscious effort to notice the good things, the acts of kindness, the moments of beauty that surround us every day?
You're talking about shifting our perspective, actively seeking out the things that inspire hope and joy.
Exactly. It's about making a choice to believe in the best of humanity, even when it's hard, even when the world seems determined to prove us wrong.
It's interesting that you bring this up because, we've been focusing so much on church and his perspective.
Right.
But what about Virginia?
Yeah.
What happened to her after this exchange with the Sun? Did his editorial have a lasting impact on her life?
It's a great question, and the answer is fascinating.
Uh,
Virginia O'Hanlon went on to lead a remarkable life dedicated to education and, interestingly enough, the importance of play.
wow, that's quite a connection back to the theme of childlike wonder. Tell me more about her life. Did she hold on to that belief that church affirmed for her?
She did. Throughout her life, Virginia maintained that belief in Santa Claus and the spirit he represented. She earned her bachelor's degree from Hunter College and then a master's from Columbia University, the same institution Church had attended.
That's quite a coincidence. It's almost like she was following in his intellectual footsteps, even if their worldviews seemed so different on the surface.
And then she went on to earn her PhD in education from Fordham University. Quite an accomplishment.
She definitely wasn't afraid of pursuing knowledge and challenging herself intellectually. But did she ever mention how church's response impacted her life or her work?
Well, her dissertation topic offers a pretty compelling clue.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What was it about?
She wrote her dissertation on the importance of play, and in her abstract, she wrote that some of her happiest childhood memories and most abiding interests stemmed from play.
That's a beautiful connection back to church's message about holding on to childlike wonder. Seems his words did have a profound impact on her life, shaping her values and inspiring her career path.
It's amazing, isn't it? How a simple question from a child and a thoughtful response from a journalist could spark such a ripple effect.
It's a testament to the power of words, the impact they can have on shaping our beliefs and inspiring our actions.
It's also worth noting that even in her later years, long after her childhood exchange with the Sun, Virginia continued to speak about the importance of belief and wonder.
Do we have any record of what she said? I'd love to hear her own words on this.
In an interview, she said, and I quote, "Well, of course I do. Everybody wants to know, particularly at Christmas time, that there's some kindly person interested in his well-being. It gives a glow to living. Whether it really is as a person or a spirit doesn't really matter very much, does it? Some people say we shouldn't believe in things we can't see. This is most unrealistic. Look at all the nice things that have happened to me because of Santa Claus."
That's a powerful statement, especially coming from someone who had dedicated her life to education and critical thinking. She wasn't rejecting logic or reason, but she was acknowledging the importance of something beyond the purely rational.
Exactly. She seemed to understand that belief isn't just about accepting something as factually true. It's about choosing to see the world through a lens of hope and possibility, even when presented with evidence to the contrary.
And her life is a testament to that. She chose to embrace the magic of the holiday season, to see the good in humanity, and to make a positive impact on the lives of countless children through her work.
It's a legacy that continues to inspire, reminding us that even in a world that can often feel cynical and jaded, there's still room for wonder, for belief, for the magic of the human spirit.
It's amazing to think that something as simple as a letter to a newspaper could spark such a lasting conversation about belief, wonder, and the human spirit.
And what's fascinating is that Church's editorial wasn't intended to be a philosophical treatise. It was a response to a child's question written in a single day. Yet it tapped into something universal, something that continues to resonate with people over a century later.
It's become a cultural touchstone, hasn't it?
Yeah.
People still quote it, share it, and find comfort in its message.
Right.
What do you think is the reason for its enduring appeal?
I think it speaks to a fundamental human need.
Yeah.
We crave a sense of wonder, a belief in something beyond the tangible world, something that gives our lives meaning and purpose.
Especially in a world that often feels driven by logic data and scientific explanations.
Right.
It's like we're yearning for something that speaks to our hearts as much as our minds.
Exactly. And church's editorial in its own way validates that yearning. It gives us permission to embrace those unseen forces, those intangible qualities that make life worth living.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most important truths can't be proven with facts and figures.
Yeah.
They have to be felt, experienced, and believed in, even when we can't fully explain them.
It's like that famous quote from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's The Little Prince: "What is essential is invisible to the eye." Church's editorial seems to echo that sentiment, encouraging us to look beyond the surface and embrace the deeper truths that shape our world.
And it's not just about Santa Claus, is it?
No.
It's about finding those Santa Claus moments in our own lives, those experiences that reaffirm our faith in humanity,
Yeah.
in the power of good and the possibility of joy and wonder.
You're absolutely right. It could be witnessing a random act of kindness, experiencing the beauty of nature, or feeling a sense of connection with something larger than ourselves.
Those moments that remind us that there's more to life than just the everyday grind,
Yeah.
that there's magic to be found if we just open our hearts to it.
And I think that's the key takeaway from this deep dive. It's not about blindly believing in fairy tales or rejecting logic and reason. It's about finding a balance, embracing both the seen and the unseen, and cultivating a sense of wonder that enriches our lives and makes the world a better place.
It's about being open to the possibility of magic, even in the most unexpected places.
Mm.
And maybe, just maybe, that's the true spirit of Santa Claus.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we come to the end of our exploration of this fascinating story.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into history culture and the enduring power of belief, be sure to subscribe for more fascinating explorations. Who knows what other hidden gems we'll uncover together?